Hi, my name is Wes, and I work in conversion rate optimization and customer acquisition. Majority of my work takes place with online campaigns for internet companies, and what I do is work on existing campaigns to figure out ways to make them more profitable, to acquire customers much more cheaply, and to figure out how to expand the reach and total customer acquisition through those channels. So basically, my job is to figure out how to make the marketing of a company make the company more money. So this first case study is all about copywriting, and specifically I want to talk about the ways that I think about advertising, the ways I think about why somebody would be interested in a product, and how to figure out a way to reverse engineer a set of beliefs and a set of needs and a set of priorities in a customer's life and back that up into a campaign which supports the idea that your product can solve problems that person is facing. That's extremely, extremely important when the product you are selling does not have an obvious functional purpose. So if you were to sell somebody a hammer, they're only going to buy a hammer if they need to, use it to construct something. And if they don't have any purpose or any need for a hammer, then they simply will have no interest in buying it, no matter what the quality of your copywriting. Outside of purely utilitarian purchases, of which most products fall, the ability to convince people through copywriting and through salesmanship that they would be better off with your product becomes extremely important. Okay, so does this really matter? Does it really make more money by making copywriting slightly more efficient? Yes. Here's why. This case study is going to show you exactly how changing 6 words in a headline immediately doubled the amount of orders placed for every dollar spent on advertising and cut the customer acquisition costs for this company in half. So if the company was previously getting 10 orders for every $100 spent, now they're getting 20. And if the customers used to cost $15 a head, now they're costing $7.50 a head. And by doing this, you're able to dramatically increase the margin portion of your revenue relative to your overhead and your marketing expenses. And that makes the company much, much, much more profitable than it previously was by being able to optimize away waste in marketing and to acquire customers more cheaply. Okay, so going into this campaign, once I took on the project, I wanted to see exactly how we could create new marketing, new copywriting, new headlines that reflect the idea that this product could solve problems in somebody's life that have nothing to do with the product itself. So, in effect, I'm creating a perception that the product is a solution to a problem that is outside the scope of the existing campaign. And did this enormously abstract idea work? Yes, fantastically. We touched on it earlier, but we are able to cut customer acquisition costs in half, acquire twice as many customers for the same marketing spend, and in doing this, we took a small seasonal company and produced 6 figures in new product orders that came directly from this campaign, which previously was breaking even, in a 4-week period. Okay, here's the product. This is called a letter from Santa, and the idea is that a child would get a letter in the mail, and it would be from Santa Claus from the North Pole, and it would be sort of like a Mad Lib that the parent filled in online. So they'd open it up, it'd have their name, and they'd run into the living room, and they'd be like, Mommy, look what I got, blah, blah, blah. And it'd say something like, oh, dear Johnny, I'm so excited to come visit you on Christmas Eve, and I'm going to bring you the greatest gifts ever, and, your friend Michael down in hometown, variable is ready to, blah, 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 whatever. So the kid basically gets a letter, and it's from Santa, and it's about him, and his friends are mentioned, and it's meant to get the child extremely excited about the upcoming holiday. This is something that the kid opens before Christmas actually comes around. This is not a Christmas morning thing. This is like a few days before, a week before, or something like that. So the idea here is that parents buy this for their kids to get their kids super pumped for the holidays. Costs $20, and the kid gets a bunch of extras. It's got like a little vial of fake toy snow that comes supposedly from the North Pole, and it's got reindeer food with it, and it also came with a good list. And the kid's name would always be mixed in amongst a bunch of random names, and they'd find their name and they'd be really excited about it. Oh, look, Mom, I'm on the good list, that sort of thing. So we were a partner company with this. We were working on a CPA model through our team, and we were getting $18.50 per new customer, regardless of how many orders they placed. So the product company would basically break even on their overhead costs plus the acquisition costs through us on a customer that only placed one order, and they would find their margin on customers with multiple orders, because we wouldn't get a piece of order 2, 3, or 4 if they were ordering for like multiple grandchildren or multiple kids, or basically any situation where they had more than one order. Now, this company was using Facebook newsfeed ads as their originating source, their first traffic source, which makes a lot of sense because it is such a universal product. Every parent, could potentially want to order this. If you're going to go after something like that, you want the most broad, cheapest, most almost least targeted solution, because really with a product that is so universal and such an impulse buy, you want to shotgun it out to the newsfeed of every single parent, and then figure out a way to make the product appeal to parents in aggregate. Really, that's much different than something like Google AdWords, where this might work, but the volume would be so low as to be insignificant, just because AdWords is a platform that depends on customers already having the intent to purchase a product. So if somebody types in, I need headache medicine or something like that, they already know before they even see your landing page or your ad that their intent is to buy. With something like this, people don't know it exists, and we have to distract them and say, hey, look at this cool thing, this is a cool idea, and then to get them from basically grabbing their attention, take them through the AIDA process. We have their attention, we have their interest, they have the desire, and now they're going to place an order. So the reason this wouldn't work on AdWords is that nobody goes to AdWords and types in letters from Santa or have Santa send my child a letter. And if they do type those things in, then they will see that there's a bunch of free little kits that they can do it on their own, and the paid solution is probably going to be looked over or competed with, or it's just not going to go very well as a traffic source. So the goal basically is to figure out what is the most universal, easily accessible way to reach an enormous amount of parents with the highest quality traffic, with the least CPM costs, to be able to produce a very, very large sum of orders at a very reasonable cost per acquisition. Okay, so when I came on board, they were acquiring customers at roughly $15 each. Which, given the CPA target that they were after of $18, it's acceptable. But the way that our agreement worked is we essentially made a margin on the cost differential between their CPA target and our cost per acquisition. So the project wasn't very profitable for our team until we were able to significantly reduce that cost of acquisition. So when we come on board, the CPA that they're currently getting, the cost of customer acquisition that they're currently getting at $15, it's really, really unattractive. It shows that there's hope, it shows that there's orders, but it's not anywhere near optimal at all. Okay, here's what their creatives actually looked like. I hesitate to recreate an actual newsfeed ad in this video, but I imagine know what a newsfeed post looks like. So this is the primary image type. It's always going to be Santa with the sleigh bells and the reindeer and all of this. They used an image of Santa that was mimicked and basically identical to a portrait of Santa that's on their order page, their landing page. So that continuity, that bridge of when somebody clicks on the image, they're going to go to a page that has the same image. That normally performs extremely well. So in our initial test, I didn't adjust it very much. We found out later that there were some possible advantages that we had with different image types, but that particular image wasn't really a target. The copy surrounding the image was suspect, though. So this headline, "Send Your Child a Letter from Santa," is very cut and dry. So there are some major problems with this, and the idea is that if you're selling a non-essential product that is sort of an impulse buy, being so straightforward and talking so very plainly about the functionality of it only works if somebody wants to have it already, if somebody already has the interest and already wants to buy it but just hasn't gotten around to it. So you're not convincing somebody that previously wasn't interested in this whatsoever that this could be a good idea. You're simply just hoping that there's enough low-hanging fruit in the population that is exposed to your advertisement that you come up with a profitable campaign. That's not a very good way to market a product. So initially, the first thing I wanted to do was try to figure out how we can create an emotional appeal, because it is an emotional product. It's an emotional product because it's something that they're doing to get an emotional response out of another person, their child. So the more I started thinking about this, the more I realized that the product wasn't really a piece of paper. The product was a feeling, and the product was a sense of excitement and a sense of wonder that Santa Claus is out there and he's going to come here and this is going to be the greatest Christmas ever. And that emotion that is transferred from like the parent to the child, that is what they're purchasing for $20. It's not a piece of paper and a random toy. It's this sense of wonder and this sense of excitement and this sense of anticipation for the upcoming Christmas season, for the upcoming Christmas night, Christmas Eve, whatever. So I wanted to figure out a way to basically make the product exciting in a way that has nothing to do with the front-loaded description of the product. So the reason that I don't like it so much is that this sort of product is going to immediately be tagged as another useless toy by almost any parent that looks at it. So parents are marketed to extremely aggressively by toy manufacturers and back-to-school ads and things of this nature, where the parent always feels pressured to buy things, more things, new things, shinier things for the child, because that child is so very special to them, so they want the best for them. And basically marketers run the entire gambit on this sense of emotion and this sense of worry and concern for one's children. So that creates a lot of defensiveness around the idea of a useless product. So simply approaching it and saying, oh, this is this cool toy, I don't really think that's going to sell enough on a large enough basis, with a low enough cost per acquisition, with enough emotional interest, with enough. It's just, it performs very much like what you'd expect it to, where it costs about $15 to acquire a customer. It's just about breaking even with this enormously high margin product, and in general, it's uninspiring. So we need to figure out a better way, a more exciting way, a more touching way to make parents actually want to buy this for a purpose other than entertaining the child for, 90 seconds. Okay, so what does the brainstorming process for recreating this ad campaign look like? First, we've really got to understand the buyer's mindset. And I've talked a lot about this sprinkled in through the commentary here. But basically, we know that the buyers are grandparents and parents. We know that most of them are marketed to highly aggressively, and the general climate of the last, 5, 6, 7 years has been one of financial stress and one where money has been tight. So we know that Christmas is extremely stressful for parents because there are all of these expectations and all of these bills and all of these ideas that they have to spend all of this time, prepping for the big guests to come over and family, and they want to make everything look as good as possible, and they're worried about being judged, and they don't want their children to be disappointed because their friends got better gifts or had a better vacation or had a better Christmas, or they don't want to be, basically, parents feel an enormous amount of pressure to do absolutely everything right and to be able to give everybody everything that they want. And the thing is that is almost always impossible. So there's this looming dread around the holidays, even if everything's going great, but just parents, every single parent I've ever talked to or dealt with that wasn't extremely well off in life, they're excited for the holidays, but they can't wait till they're over. So then we take all of these ideas that we found and all of these thoughts that we've come up with regarding the way that the average American parent thinks about Christmas, and we have to create a new campaign that speaks specifically to them, and it offers them an immediate benefit. It offers them a lifeline. It says, hey, you, I understand what you're going through. This will make it better. That's basically what we want to do with this campaign, is instead of making it something where the product, the piece of paper, the letter for the child is for the child, what if instead we figured out a way to make this gift to one's child really about making their own life easier? Now, of course, there are, all of the benefits of giving the gift to the child, making the child excited, but let's think about ways where we can figure out how to make the child's excitement an enormous benefit and enormous relief and pressure off of the parent's shoulders. So that's where I went with this campaign. And here's a very long version of what the headline seems to want to accomplish. And then we'll go through this, and then we'll show you what the boiled down version of this looks like. Okay, so I've gone over most of these individual points at some point in this commentary, but altogether, this paragraph, or I guess section of paragraphs, this long article here, this is the feeling, this is the emotion, these are the concerns, these are the worries, this is the mental state that this campaign wants to reach out and grab onto people's attention with. It's not the point of the campaign is not to say, hey, here's a toy for your child. The point is to say, oh, we understand what you're going through. This will make it better. So running through very quickly, why are you working all that overtime? You're stressed over Christmas bills. You've got the guests coming over. You got to worry about cleaning the house, cooking, entertaining. Are you worried that you'll be a horrible mother if Christmas isn't as great as it could be for your children? Are they going to be crushed if their friends have better gifts or Christmases or vacations, and your kids don't get to participate with their friends because you're not making enough money, or things aren't really in your budget, or you simply don't have enough time because you're working so hard to make sure your kid has all these other parts of their life put together? This is something I didn't talk about previously, but the idea that parents could put in all of this effort and all of this time and all of this worry and have all of these bills and work all these extra hours and do all of this to have a great Christmas, and then the fear that the child may just not care, may just be completely apathetic about the holidays entirely. And that's a real fear for a subsection of parents. It's the idea that the kid could just be completely impossible to convince to care about Christmas, and the problems and the effort and the stresses that the parent goes through are for nothing at all. So that all of those emotions, all of those fears, all of those worries all string together is basically, that's our target. That's our target market. That's what we want to go after. That's who we want to appeal to. And the entire goal of this campaign is to create a headline that says all of these issues, all these worries, all of this stuff, this will help you. This will make it worth it. This will make it okay. That's the headline, and that's how it has to be interpreted by the parent. Now, the thing is, we can't actually talk about all this doom and gloom in our headline. You couldn't actually write a headline that says, worried that Christmas will suck, this will make it great. And that's just not going to work. Although, now that I think about it, I think it'd be awesome to run a test on it just to see. But what we want to do is create an ad, a headline that it reaches out and it touches all of these concerns that are in the back of the parent's mind, but doesn't directly address them. And then we have to have the same headline, the same handful of words, be something that stands out so much that it grabs somebody's attention and it hints at the idea, the benefit, the core upside of the product, which is the child's excitement. It has to really, really emphasize the idea that the kid is going to love it. So those two elements combined, all of this dread, all of this fear, and then the child's happiness has to be strung together with an attention-grabbing headline in like 7 words or less. Because of the format of newsfeed ads, we can't have these long headlines. So this was the absolute home run of the entire test. This headline here, "Mommy, look what Santa sent me." That outperformed the original version, which is "Send your child a letter from Santa," by 100%. So for every single order that the old headline created, this headline would produce 2. So the effects of that it's a domino effect, really. What ends up happening is that because you have such an enormous new margin, because you have such a lower cost of acquisition, so your profit per individual order skyrockets, suddenly you can afford to place way more ads. You can go after more demographics. You can run at a scale that allows you to have enough actionable data running through your servers so you can segment out each individual subsection of the population and sort it out by age and gender and number of children and do all this analytics work to figure out exactly what type of parent orders most frequently with the highest rate and therefore has the lowest acquisition costs. And then create new subsections of ads that target those individual populations. Basically, in marketing, especially in direct response marketing and customer acquisition, success leads to more success, because as soon as you start being able to produce sales at volume, you're immediately producing so much more data, and that additional data gives you all the insights you need in order to produce sales more efficiently, and it becomes this giant cycle that goes on and on and on, and you become better and better at the entire process. Sometimes the most difficult portion is just figuring out how you break the ice and immediately shoot from break-even to enormously profitable before you worry about all the small optimizations and analytics. So this headline, "Mommy, look what Santa sent me," was absolutely game-changing. This was by far the best headline we were able to create and test. This just was tremendously successful, and it works because it's something that easily grabs the attention of mothers, and then we switch around for fathers. We target men, and we say, "Daddy, look what Santa sent me." So, but the idea is it grabs the attention of the parent because somebody reads "mommy" or somebody reads "daddy" and they imagine it being their child's voice. When a parent reads this headline, they imagine it being their child saying this, and then it's immediately possible for them to put themselves mentally in a situation where they think and they visualize the idea of their child saying that phrase to them. And that makes somebody so much more interested in what the product could be that could produce that positive of a result out of their child. And suddenly that leads to an increase in click-through rate. And that leads that initial desire, before you even know what the product is, can carry its momentum forward and leads to an increase in conversion rate. And then combined between the increased conversion rate and the increased click-through rate, you have a significantly lower cost of acquisition, and your ROI, your return on investment on advertising budgets, skyrockets. Now, we only had a 3 to 4 week period to run the campaign, test it, scale it, and acquire as many sales as possible, because we were approached by the partner company somewhere right around Thanksgiving, and the nature of the product, because it has to be given to the child before Christmas and there's shipping logistics timeouts in the middle, orders stopped coming in, I believe, about a week before Christmas, so it must have been somewhere on the December 18th or so. So we had about a 3 week period. And in that window, we went from a break-even campaign that was hardly worth running to producing well over $100,000 in sales. And of course, if we had a longer period, if it was a more universal or more or a less time-sensitive product, we'd be able to use all this additional data to further refine and test endlessly and be able to really, really scale up. But as an example, as a case study in copywriting, I love this campaign because it so very clearly talks about what the problems with using a straightforward approach are, understanding the mindset behind the buyer and why they'd ever want to buy this product, and then reformatting the ad creative to target those emotions specifically. And those 3 steps are, really it's the fundamentals of understanding salesmanship in print or salesmanship via digital media or anything of this nature. Like, just understanding copywriting is so essential to actually selling a product. This is probably my favorite individual project I've worked on, just because it so very clearly demonstrates the idea that just changing a handful of words, literally 6 words, can take your product sales from barely breaking even to enormously successful. And it's just about understanding how to speak to your audience in a way that connects with them at their deepest levels. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you learned something from it. If you're interested in having me look at your products and working on your ad campaigns, please send me an email. I'll list all of the information below, and let me know if you enjoyed this video, because if people find these informative, if people enjoy listening to them, if they learn anything, I'd be happy to create tons more. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a mysterious, debonair man from Albania. He is the co-founder of F5, the co-founder of Stack That Money, the founder of AF Tools, and he directs his outsourcing army from a secret location in Europe. Besmir, aka BB Rock 32.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Besmir, BB Rock 32 from the forums, and today I'm going to talk about outsourcing. The aim of the speech is to give you guys a detailed step-by-step guide into outsourcing and not just a general overview. So let's get started. Why, when, and what to outsource? Definitely not because it's cool, like PPV was in 2010, or because everyone has been doing it and it's the latest trend, but the bottom line is that outsourcing is going to make you more money and give you more free time. Why more money? Because by outsourcing, you will be able to hit the latest trends, test more offers, and do everything faster than the other affiliates. Free time, that is pretty obvious, because you'll be basically getting the work of yourself and getting someone else to do it. So, the next question, when to outsource? Definitely, I don't recommend outsourcing to everyone, especially to newbies. If you're just starting out, I suggest first you learn everything yourself, see how it works, and then teach it to someone else. But apart from that, I have a rule of thumb that I use to find out if you should outsource. Basically, it's figure out what your time is worth. So, to give you guys an example, let's say that you generate $10,000 per month. So, by doing some basic math, that turns out that your time is worth $40 an hour. So, if your time is worth $40 per hour, and if you can hire 2 people that are going to save you 1 hour a day each, and you pay these 2 people basically just $500 each, you'll be saving $1,200, and you'll pay these people $1,000. So you are on a positive ROI right here. So the next questions, what to outsource? During my affiliate career, I've been able to outsource pretty much everything from landing page coding, designs, ad uploading, optimization, bids, and everything you can name. But my favorite activity has been outsourcing daily profit loss reports. As you can see on the next slide, I really love the idea of being able to wake up in the morning, get my cup of coffee, and see how exactly my affiliate campaigns did the day before. And that is how one of my reports look like. The next questions, so you know what to outsource, who to hire and where to hire them. I've had the most luck outsourcing to the Philippines, and that's been for most of the tasks, except for heavyweight programming and server optimization. Why the Philippines? For 2 reasons. First, because the cost of the work is pretty cheap, and second, because they have very good work ethics. Some of the sites that Some of the sites that I've used for outsourcing to the Philippines and hiring people are easyoutsource.com, which is basically free, and two others that are paid resources, onlinejobs.ph and bestjobs.ph. But they're well worth the money. As for outsourcing, as I said before, outsourcing heavyweight programming like trackers, spy tools, automators, and server optimizations, I've had the most success outsourcing to Eastern Europe and especially to Russia and the Ukraine. The site I've used to hire people there has been Odesk, and that has worked really well for me. Another tip I'd like to give to you guys, if you already have existing employees, I would suggest to ask them to refer people to you. That has worked really well for me in the past for getting really good and reliable people. So, the hiring and selection process. Basically, every time that I'm hiring new people, I am looking for three basic qualities. The first one is good English, and that basically makes sense because you'll be hiring people that supposedly going to talk to them every day, and you need to understand them, and vice versa. To do this, basically, I think a Skype call of 30 minutes is good enough to decide if their English is good and if it's going to work out for you. The next quality is being a fast and independent learner. Since you're doing outsourcing to save yourself time, obviously you don't want to babysit your employers all the day going through campaigns. So generally the way I use to filter them is by giving them a task that requires some research. For example, let's say I want to hire a new employee, so I ask them to register a new domain name. I give them my Namecheap account, I give them my cPanel username, and I ask them to download a copy of Prosper 202 and install it on the server. As you might understand, it's not like a very easy task for someone that has no idea what Prosper 202 is, but it's nothing that can be done with a bit of research. The third thing, I look for reliable people. Basically, I'm looking for people that are going to work with me from a year, 2 years from now on, and I don't want someone that is going to leave me like the next day. To be honest, there is no real way to find reliable people from day one, but the way I do it is just hire them on a trial period, which of course, it has to be paid to motivate them to work harder. And during this 1 month, I decide if they are a good fit for the position. Okay, so far you know what to outsource, where to hire people, what tasks to give to them. The next question is payment structures. How do you pay your employees? I've experimented with 3 different commission structures. The first one is giving them a fixed salary. And from my experience, that has worked best for manual, repetitive tasks that don't require a lot of motivation. So landing page coding, daily profit loss report, paying someone a fixed salary to do that is good enough. The other structure I've used is a fixed salary plus bonuses. This works really well for a bit more like important jobs. For example, campaign optimization. You want your guys to be able to squeeze all the profit possible for your campaigns, and they need to be motivated to do that. So basically, a fixed salary won't do well enough. And in my case, I just give them bonuses. So at the beginning of each month, I set goals that have to be reached. And if in case they're reached, I give them bonuses. How much to pay? Basically, I prefer to pay them from 1.2 times to 2 times the usual salary. So to give you an example, if someone gets $400 a month, on a good month where they reach all their goals, they would get from $450 to $800. So while I don't advise overpaying people because that could lead to the opposite effects, I think paying twice the salary is not overpaying, especially if you know that you're outsourcing to the Philippines and $800 is not like the end of the world. Commissions only? This one is a pretty tricky one, and I don't suggest a lot of people to try it because it has some risks. Basically, if you pay someone commission only, that means that they are taking some risk in the process. So if you make $0 at the end of the month, they will also be making $0. And if they're doing most of the work and making only a small percentage, after they know how to do the job and run campaigns by themselves, basically there is a high chance of them leaving. So I suggest doing this only for people that you really trust. Basic structures. How I structured my company at the beginning and how that has evolved. When I was starting out, I was using what I call a triangle scheme for organizing my company, and it's made by three parts: a coder, a designer, and an optimizer. It's a triangle because I want to think of it as a separate entity where you just have to feed campaign ideas to them. And basically, the designer can come up with a landing page, the coder makes sure it's coded, and the optimizer and the reports guy basically just have to create it and optimize and make sure it's profitable. Basically, you can just take the structure from the previous slide and scale it to different traffic sources. So let's say if you are running 3 different traffic sources like adult, mobile, and Facebook, you can just take the previous structure and just make a small change. In my case, I just use the shared layer at the bottom, which is made of the designer, the coder, and the reports. This shared layer is shared between all the teams of the company. As you can see at the top of the company, there is a team leader or manager, and basically he'll be your only point of contact. So if you need something done, you will talk only to this guy, and he'll make sure that he'll delegate the work properly to the layers below. Managing your team. This is definitely not an easy task because managing people is never easy. But are some tips I'd like to share from my experience. The first one is to give them fixed working hours, and these hours should match to yours. So basically, you want your employees to look at this like a real company, not as like some part-time hobby job. For example, for my employees, I ask them to be online from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and that has worked pretty well. Another thing I suggest is having default tasks. We all know that some days you won't be able to get online, some other days you won't have enough tasks for them, and you don't want them to be sitting idle and doing nothing. So basically you have some default tasks. Like in my case, I ask them to do some spying, do some banners, or code small tools, and when they have nothing else to do, they can work on these tasks. Also, as I said before, you want yourself to be looked at as a real company instead of a local part-time job. So take notice of local holidays, like every company does. Training your team. I have to start by saying that training a team is not easy, and the first employee is going to be the hardest. You are going to teach affiliate marketing to a guy that has no idea what the tracking link is, what the sub ID is, what Prosper 202 is, and that's not going to be easy, and it's going to require a lot of patience. So you just start by teaching the basics. You make sure you teach them one task at a time and give them some responsibility. So teach them one task, let them run for a week or two, and after you see that they mastered it, you can move to the next one. Something that not everyone says about outsourcing is that you should expect to fail. You should treat outsourcing as you treat your campaigns. You are going to have losers and winners, exactly like in campaigns, but you should be good at cutting the losers fast and working on the winners. So after you've trained your first guy, the rest should be pretty easy, because what I've done is let my first guy train the other people of the team. Basically what I did with him, so going through Skype calls, screen sharing, video calls every day, you let him do it with the other employees. And if they're from the same country, it's even easier because they can use their local language to explain everything. Also, another thing that I do is ask them to write documentation and white papers. So basically, make them write every step in the process, from campaign creation to sub-ID uploading, optimization, and everything. This is because first, when you get new people, it's easier for them to have both Skype calls and white papers. And the second, if someone is going, for whatever reason, leaving your company, you don't have to start everything from scratch. During my outsourcing career, I have made a good use of a lot of collaboration tools, and I've made my life easier. I'd like to mention some of them. The first one is Trello, which is a task management tool. Dropbox for file synchronizing and sharing files. Google Docs for pretty much everything. Skype for doing screen sharing, calls every day. And the last one is Jing, that I use it for sending screenshots and explaining everything in detail. So thank everybody. This is pretty much it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them at stack.money.com, question.php, and looking forward to meeting everyone at the bar later. Thank you.
Hello everyone from the AMC. As you know, I'm kind of trekking around Europe interviewing affiliate marketers. So I'm now in Budapest, Hungary with Christina, aka FB Queen, and Bondita, who's kind of wanting to leave us right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask Christina a few questions, basic questions about affiliate marketing for you guys to give you her insight on the questions that you typically ask people when given the opportunity. So I'll get straight into it. Okay, so Bondita's back, as you can see, which means we can now get started. He knows who's boss here.
Yeah, right.
So first question I wanted to ask you, Christina, is how did you get into affiliate marketing? Give us your story there on how you actually started in affiliate marketing, when you got involved, and how things went.
I got involved when I was 14, and
14?
my dad came into my room, and I exactly remember that, like, I was sitting by my desk, and like, it was like the room was closed, so he came into my room.
Right.
And I was like asking me if I wanted to make money online. I'm like, hell yeah, who wouldn't want to make money online? And
Right.
he bought me an ebook from a female affiliate, a super affiliate,
Yeah.
was like really successful at it. And I was like, okay, I can probably learn it if she could do it. So I dedicated my whole summer to translate the ebook. I didn't really speak English back then.
All right, so it was in English and you didn't speak English that well.
It was in
didn't
English,
read
yeah,
English,
for
yeah.
sure. It was written by an American woman,
Do you remember her name? Or?
Rosalind Gardner, yeah.
Right, okay,
It was a super affiliate handbook.
right.
And yeah, that's how I got started. I launched my first campaign on AdWords, and it didn't work out at all. I
Yes, they
lost
do.
money. I made some money back, but I didn't make a profit. But I figured you can make money with it, so I kept going, and I didn't give up.
Yeah. So what was it about specifically? Was it promoting certain offer types?
It was
or
about ClickBank.
ClickBank offers?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's an
ClickBank and
interesting start.
AdWords.
Yeah, and you were 14
Yeah,
at the
14,
time.
15.
It's a
and
very early start to affiliate marketing.
it was early, but I think it was the right time.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then what happened from there? So from there till now, how did things progress? Like if you were to just kind of sum up each year, like after the first year you did this, and then after that you moved here, and then after that you did this. What's your story there?
well, I kind of take it as like a game. So
Right.
I didn't really take it like as a business, kind of. So I pretty much just like, okay, I can make pocket money. And I made my first profit when I was like, 17? So it took for a while to
Several
learn and
years,
get the
yeah.
hang of it,
Yeah.
But after, I learned how to actually make profit, I was like, okay, now I can buy a car and I can go party and all that.
Oh, so there you go, like 3 years from starting to actually making a profit. So it depends on like the training you have and the information you have and your situation.
And like how seriously you take it. I
Yeah.
mean,
But some people, I guess people who get into affiliate marketing kind of have this idea that it will take them several months of trying and then they'll be profitable and that's it, game over, they're a super affiliate, but that's kind of never the case. There's some people who take 10 years before they actually get
I mean,
profitable.
it's doable if you really like put a lot of time and effort into it, and you are like mature enough to make like dedicate to the whole affiliate marketing industry. Then you're like able to make it, in a couple of months, and we've seen like examples for that, right?
Yeah, from our
So,
AMC success
yeah.
stories and things.
It's doable. It's just gotta have you gotta be like mature enough.
Yeah. So you moved to the United States, correct? To learn English and to.
I didn't really move. I traveled a lot. I attended conferences, and I was like trying to meet people, who are in the industry, and like learn all about it and meet anyone I could.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right, we'll move on to the next question. So over the past few years, how has your focus changed? So obviously the offers and verticals that people focus on change over time and the market changes and so on. But has there been any, big shifts in your focus in terms of like business and personal ways in which you actually operate? Like just your life in general, like your mindset and your actual goals. How have they changed over the past 5 years or so?
Okay, well, to be honest, I didn't take affiliate marketing as like a real business until my dad actually lost his job, and there was like no one who would provide for the family, and I figured I know how to make money, but I just needed to like scale up to actually be able to provide, for the family. So I changed my mindset when it happened, and I had to like all of a sudden grow up and like take responsibility and actually like scale up. So I kind of shifted into Facebook marketing once I figured that there is like a lot more traffic over there, and it's easier to scale up, and that's how it happened.
Okay, next question. Where would you most like to live and work from in the world, and why?
That's a really
And you can't say Budapest, Hungary,
It's a
because
tough question.
you
I
grew
really
up there.
like working from local cafes in different cities. What I enjoyed the most so far was in Hawaii.
Right.
But I cannot really tell you where exactly because I haven't been everywhere, which I really want to do.
Right.
So, it would be Hawaii.
Right. And do you find certain places like better than others? Do you like going to places which have more affiliates in them, or do you just going to places where like you like the environment better?
Oh, I like the environment, and I like the beach and warm weather. So I don't really care if there are like a lot of affiliates or not over there. I mean, every city I travel to, I find an affiliate there to hang out with.
Yeah, it's like a terrible curse almost.
No, I think it's like really great because wherever I go, I have like friends,
Okay, probably the most important question of the interview. What skills or activities have helped you the most in terms of scaling your activities and just generally being successful in affiliate marketing?
I would say networking. The more people you get to know, the more opportunities you have. So if I was starting out, I would probably focus on like 70% of like expanding my circle of people that I know and who can help me grow. Right.
So you have a kind of funny story there, right? From what I understand, you snuck into not Affiliate World Asia, into affiliate, shameless plug, into Affiliate Summit West or East?
It was West in Vegas, yeah.
When you were, how old were you?
17.
Yeah, so pure network hustler, sneaking into a conference when 17, underage for drinking and things like that. Because you wanted to network, right? That was the obvious reason you were there. So you started networking pretty early on, like 16, 17, in terms of traveling around and meeting people. And you're still doing that now, I assume?
I do it more intense. Like back then, I was like really shy and not didn't have the courage to like just to talk to anyone randomly.
So now is your networking mainly in person at conferences and things, or online first and then meeting later?
I mean, it's both. It's you gotta keep in touch online and you gotta meet people in person. And I particularly like to work with people who I have met before, so I can look into their eyes and like can tell if they're like genuine and real and like not gonna be bad or
meeting people face to face kind of does a lot for credibility. So I mean, at the moment, how many of the campaigns that you deal with would you say are the direct result of like relationships or like access to offers and traffic source kind of things that are the direct result of some sort of in-person networking that you otherwise wouldn't have access to?
That's a crazy tough question because I think like all of it because
all of it.
I think I've met all the people that I'm currently working with.
Yeah, and like all the offers you're using and stuff like that, it's all from networking? Yeah. I think that makes sense because for most people they completely underestimate how important networking is, and a lot of the people I know who are running big like offers and campaigns and things as well, pretty much everything they're running is stuff that either they only have access to it because of networking, or they have access to much, much higher payouts or some exclusive relationship which gives them a competitive edge because of networking. So I think your advice about networking is definitely important there. Okay, another question. What was your biggest mistake in affiliate marketing? Not at the campaign level, so not that you like bid accidentally on a certain campaign and wasted $5,000 or something like that. What, in retrospect, what would you most do differently if you were starting out like tomorrow?
Yeah, I would probably start networking earlier.
Okay, so it's kind of like the current, the recurring theme.
If I knew people at an earlier stage, I would. I mean, my development or my self, development would have been like much faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the theme, I guess, with what you're saying and with what I hear from a lot of people, that networking should really start pretty early.
Yeah.
People should kind of get out of the box, but I suppose you need to have some level of success first, so you know what you're talking about before you try and be you get too serious into networking.
I mean, you can learn how you should talk, because when I started out, I was like 16 when I applied for a mentorship program, and they taught me how to talk like a professional affiliate marketer. Okay. So when I contacted the networks, I knew exactly word by word what to tell them to sound professional.
Was this an affiliate marketing mentorship thing, or was it like something different?
It was an affiliate marketing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So that helped you a lot.
They helped me with how to present myself. So they told me, or they taught me like to create a business, to look professional, and like what to tell them. So
the normal stuff. Don't walk into things as the lone wolf anonymous internet marketer who's like hustling and trying to push campaigns. Actually present yourself as like a lead generation agency. Take it seriously from the beginning. Yeah. That's kind of one of the problems with affiliate marketing, and one of the things we kind of address with AMC and STM is explaining to people that from the very beginning you should present yourself as a business and take things kind of seriously and look at the long term. I mean, like, setting up a company is like $300, in the US. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. So if you know that you're gonna like run traffic to a network more than $300, like, it's definitely worth like presenting yourself professionally. Other than like, for sure. Okay, the last question I have, so this is a relatively short interview, but we probably need Bondita back for that. I think he's a bit camera shy. There he goes. This is the real internet marketer. Christina's just the front. Bondita's the one who actually runs campaigns. So if Bondita here was to start affiliate marketing tomorrow, and you were to take him on as a student, a little fluffy, cute student, what pieces of advice would you give him to help him be as successful as possible? Like if you were to mentor a young affiliate marketer, what pieces of advice would you give them?
I would definitely tell Bondita to
good role play.
To start networking, and then once you know the people that you need to work with and you have the connections, take action. Because most people fail at the part of like taking action and implementing all the stuff that they have learned or heard about, and using their advantage of knowing the right people.
Right.
So
kind of like how Bondita was like hesitating to actually jump up here. There's sort of a little bit of inaction there. You're a good example, buddy. You're a good example. Okay, that's essentially everything I want to ask. Do you have anything that you want to add?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Network and take action.
Okay, cool. Right, that's the end of the interview. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any other questions for Christina here, and I'll forward them along. And then ping the answers back to you guys in the actual chat. That's all from Zeno in Budapest, and from Christina, FB Queen.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kevin, 19 years old, from Germany. I finished high school last year, so after that I pretty much immediately moved off to Sydney, where I've been working in a co-working space for startups for half a year, and now I'm just traveling to different countries. I'm in Bulgaria right now. We'll be in London next at the STM meetup, and then in Chiang Mai, Thailand for some time. And when I was still in high school, for close to 5 years, I've been trying to find different online businesses to be able to live the kind of lifestyle I had in mind. and I just discovered affiliate marketing in November last year, so it's not too long ago. And what I want to tell you now is how I managed to get from being a complete newbie, I had no idea about paid traffic, affiliate marketing, mobile, to making stable 3-figure profits a day, and even some 4-figure profit days after 12 weeks of starting out. To give you a nice overview, I got this one. My statistics, you can see pretty much the first 2 weeks just completely bad. Then it got a little better, but I also spent a lot more to get some significance. Yeah, and then the January already looked pretty nice. A little bit about break even here. But also what you can see from those statistics is what I personally put behind the progress, and also to get this kind of fast progress, the kind of sacrifice it took, and what the underlying principles are. So that's also what I want to explain to you in this video. I could give you some specific advice, but I don't think that's the best way, because there's so much advice on STM and on different affiliate marketing blogs, and so much high quality advice from guys who are more experienced than me, that I can really, that it's all out there. There's almost too much information, so I don't think giving you even more like detailed information will benefit you. I will give you a little bit, but the most important takeaway I want you to get from this video is the kind of mindset and the principles I used to make such an extremely fast progress in affiliate marketing. And I believe those are kind of special for me personally, also because I'm pretty young and have been doing this kind of business stuff for 5 years now, and I pretty much figured out how to be successful at different areas of life and to be successful in different journeys like affiliate marketing. And there are some underlying principles you can follow to boost your success. And it's also, now I take a look at Decisive, where I started out. I decided to go for mobile and mobile cookbook appetizer to get started. Just followed it, and at first I maybe thought like maybe there's like some kind of secret everyone is keeping from me, like the one big secret, and when I get it, it clicks and I'm making money. But something like this just doesn't exist. It's more like a combination of hundreds of different small details I learned. And I learned those by just working my ass off and trying so much different stuff. Here you can see my first couple of campaigns on Decisive, making no conversions at all, making a lot of new mistakes. I bet you're already much further in your progress than I was at this point. But just like the basic takeaway, you can see how many campaigns are here. And those are 15 pages of campaigns I got here on Decisive. So I launched a shitload of campaigns and I tried a shitload of different things. And after some kind of throwing shit at the wall at the beginning, I also really started to systemize and to focus on taking the learner experience out of the stuff I was doing, writing everything down in a notebook, what I wanted to test, then I made the test, and then I wrote the result down. And the next, I slowly started to decrease the kind of variables I had to test, and I slowly started finding better and better landing pages, better creatives. I always split tested them against new ones, and over time it just, the whole flow improved, and it's not even the landing pages or the banner creation or the traffic source that improved, it's the whole aspect. I improved the banking setup, I improved my communication with the affiliate managers. You can do so much more to improve your whole, how much time you spend on setting up campaigns, the whole workflow. You can improve so much, and I encourage you to not only improve the obvious, but your whole workflow, everything that's involved. So yeah, how did I manage to launch so many campaigns in such a short time? It's pretty easy. It just took a massive sacrifice and a willingness to push through the failures I had to go through, and losing a lot of money. Just looking at those, it doesn't look too bad, like losing around a little bit more than 1K. But you actually have to consider that's just from the campaigns itself. I also paid for the STM membership, I paid for the volume subscription, I paid for different books and all this kind of information stuff. I paid for what ones were and expensive tools. And also one of the biggest expenses, I just went full time. After finishing high school, I was just like, yeah, that's what I want to do, and I'm not going to live 9 to 5 life. So I had some savings from my previous businesses, and I just went full time, rented out the desk in the co-working space in Sydney. And you also have to consider all the expenses, the personal expenses I had during this time. So in total, I maybe invested between 6 and 8K before I got profitable. But it's also possible if you have like an average job right now or doing something else, college or high school. It's a great opportunity to do affiliate marketing on the side and gain a skill set without putting everything on the line. I kind of just went for this because I have been doing business besides high school for a long time, and I felt confident enough to make something happen before I would be running out of money. But because I put everything on the line, and it was either like crashing completely or making it, I pretty much lighted a huge fire under my ass, and it just had to happen. So I also made a lot of sacrifices. I was working on Christmas actually the whole day. I'm working of course on the weekends, 7 days a week, and I actually in Sydney, to save on money, I was living in a camper van, which was pretty much a normal van, and I just put a bed in there, and I only went there to sleep, and I even ate breakfast in the office. I ate all my meals in the office, and I really only went back to sleep, 8 hours of sleep, and the rest of the time was spent in the office. And that went on for close to 10 weeks. So friends are partying, I'm in the office. Friends are on the beach, I'm in the office. I'm working on my campaigns, I'm grinding it out. And it's kind of sounds like, whoa, that's awesome, hustling, but it's sometimes really tough to keep going. If you have had a couple of days in the beginning where I just lost over $100 in one day, even though you're working so hard, it's so tough to keep going. And that's, in my opinion, the main reason why most people quit. And it doesn't only apply to affiliate marketing, but to life in general, and to every journey that's tough in life. They quit because they are following their motivations, which sounds great, but motivation doesn't sustain you long enough to hit profitability or hit whatever you are trying to achieve, something big. It's never going to come as easy, and that's why you need something else that's going to drive you, that's much bigger than just motivation. And you need to really understand, why are you doing affiliate marketing? Whatever you're doing, you also have to understand the why behind it. So maybe you have something in mind why you're doing this, but you should really write it down first and then go really into detail. And it maybe seems a little bit like woo-woo, and you're saying, I would rather spend my time launching new campaigns, but in my opinion, for me, that's the single biggest underlying success principle for whatever I'm doing, and certainly that's one of the reasons why I got so extremely successful in affiliate marketing. It's the most basic structure I have. And to give you a little bit more example how it looks like, and it's like this. You can do different stuff. This one is like a vision wallpaper of stuff that's motivating me, and I have that's just an example. I have my personal one on all my devices on my smartphone, and I'm seeing it every day when I wake up. I'm seeing it all the time. It's all the time in my mind. Another one is this one. This is just one example. I have 9 of those kind of areas of my life where I have really written down the visions, and this one is the ability to travel the world and go anywhere where I want to. Where affiliate marketing is the perfect kind of job to fulfill this, and you can just do it really simply. What will happen if you keep going and hit success in affiliate marketing? Where are you going to be in this point that's important for you? For example, for me, it's just like a perfect day, like surfing on the Sunshine Coast, and then back in my hometown, riding a nice car and going to dinner, and yeah, the next day just at the airport. I can go wherever I want to, just being spontaneous. I always wanted to go to those kind of nice countries where I'm going to work in this nice little house, and when I wake up, or I can just jump out of the living room into the water, and it's just awesome. That when I wanted to quit, I just looked at this picture, and it was just, I can quit. There's no way. Also because if you're a marketer, you also know that we are generally as humans more motivated by fear and kind of the bad things instead of the goals and the good stuff. So you also can flesh out, just like this story of where you're going to be if you give up on this, if you quit affiliate marketing. So for me, I'm going to be in school, I'm going to college, I would be studying, I would get an average job, an average life, and just a couple years of just studying, listening to teachers I don't really want to learn from. It's just, this picture really shows it visually really well. And when I was just looking at this, I already really hated the last couple of years in high school, because it's just, for me personally, it's just the worst ever school, and all is related to school. So this is one of the biggest motivations for me, and that's just 1 out of 9 personally. So you have these different aspects, and when you have this really detailed, and you know what drives you, there's no way you're going to quit. No way. And that's the most important reason to be successful at anything you're doing. Because in my opinion, why most people fail is they actually don't fail, they just stop when it's so painful in the beginning. Right here on this phase, just before getting profitable, getting around break even, here's where most people quit. And you just have to be the kind of person that's not going to quit. And for me, I knew even if it would have taken much longer, even if I would still be losing money every day now, I would still be hustling on my campaigns, and I'd still putting in all the work, and it doesn't really matter if that I got profitable some weeks ago, or when I would have become profitable, I just kept going. And for whatever you're doing, if you're really applying yourself and all your time and all your effort onto something, there's no way you're not going to be successful at it, no matter what it is. It might take some time, you might have to go for half a year or a year or 2 or 5 years or 10 years, but whatever goal you're setting yourself, even if it's a really big one, if you just apply constant effort to something and focus on it and are smart about it, there's no way you can hit this goal. Right, so now let's just take a look at, I was actually thinking about if I should show you this, but yeah, whatever. This is some more detailed infos on my campaigns. this one is maybe 4 to 6 weeks in and on Decisive, when I experimented with different banners. What I tried a lot is what I figured out, those kind of generic banners who are just like this, got a really high click-through rate, but they were disapproved on Decisive, so I had to sneak them in, which was a little bit complicated. And then I also experimented with different banner variations. One of the things I did, I just imitated the user interface of a website I was targeting. For example, this one really looked like a headline on the website itself. Didn't work out so well, but it could have worked out, and I just tried, I would even say I tried hundreds of different things like this. I tried a little bit looking more branded and all this off-the-wall stuff and all these different tests, hundreds of tests, and always writing down what I learned from the tests and really learn from the data, because the most basic understanding you have to have in the beginning is that you're not paying to get potential profits, but you're paying for a learning experience and for education. And that's why you have to, the most important focus is to maximize your learning experience and education in the beginning, and only after some time you can think about even making profits. And yeah, after testing so much, it all slowly increased. They got better and better with time. It's always like the kind of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's never consistent, but in the long term, it's always progress. And yeah, after some time, I hit my first profit campaign, which is this one. It's actually still around, the offer. It's called Smart Cleaner from Malaysia, an app install. It's a direct download, and the payout is 55 pennies. So that was just one of the offers I tried, one of the many countries I tried, and I split it and tested different banners. Those are the ones that performed the best, and they actually even gave me a higher CTR than the generic banners. I just dragged them in, they're also animated. So I was just using the creatives from the advertiser that were supplied, and I exchanged the text on them. And I was also using a landing page, but it's a pretty average landing page, but I improved it over time by doing a lot of split tests, and I can't show it because I'm still using a pretty similar landing page on current campaigns. But it's really nothing special. The big one for me for this one was the pair was pretty good, and the banners got me really high CTR, so I could make something happen, and the profit was really small. It was maybe $5 a day, and the campaign died after 5 days. But it was my first profit campaign, and this was kind of the starting point where I told myself in the beginning I have to not jump around too much between different shiny objects. So I just kept going on Decisive and kept improving and focusing only on Decisive and then a certain kind of niche of offers. And after I hit this profit campaign, that was kind of my goal. I wanted to hit on Decisive. I moved to close to 10 different traffic sources, and it was a huge mess. I just had to write down so much, do a lot of documentation. But when the dust settled after a couple of weeks, I had a couple of traffic sources which were profitable, and then I just scaled it and got to my first 4-figure profit day in the beginning of February pretty quickly. So yeah, to sum it up, the most important one for me, the underlying mindset, figuring out what drives you and what drives you if your motivation fades away, and really going into detail and how to say it. you should really know what you want out of your life, and if you know there's nothing else you want to do with your life, with your time, um, there's no way you're going to be stopped by anyone. You just need this kind of drive and belief in yourself, and to keep going no matter what. And then there's only small, you're going to fail over and over again, but in the end, you're going to make it. Uh, that's the most important one. What I see why most people fail somewhere on this area, to just start launching less and then I just like slowly quit, figure out something else, or jump around too much and just get lost somehow and never really make it. So you have to find this thin line between the kind of sentence fail fast and fail often, but also stick with something until you feel like you tried everything you could. So not jumping around too much, but also trying new stuff. A good principle is 80-20 rule: 80% laser focus on one thing, 20% trying out new stuff. Um, yeah, then that's the most important one, I would say, even why 80%, 90% fail. So if you just keep this one in mind and don't stop, it's pretty likely you're going to make it. Of course, there are hundreds of other smaller ones you can focus on, but I would say that's the biggest takeaway I would want to give you. Of course, there are hundreds of failures that you go through, a lot of days where I was losing money and it was really tough to get up the next day and keep going. Uh, find those kind of social support. But those kind of advice is all out there. It's all over STM. I wrote about it in my follow along and in my blog articles. And it's all out there. It's all the information you need is out there. All you have to do is execute and apply it, and keep going. Don't stop. Sounds pretty easy. It can be pretty tough if you are fighting the battle and not taking the bird's eye view. So you should zoom out sometimes, look at the overall picture if you are making progress week by week, and where you could adjust something. And beside this, just hustle your ass off. I've been working for 8 weeks, 7 days a week, 12 hours, 14 hours a day, and making a lot of sacrifices. That's just what it takes to be better than anyone else. Ask yourself, why are you the top 5% that are going to make it when 95% fail? And do you deserve to be in those top 5%? If you don't think you deserve to be there, you probably don't. Then you should work harder. Like on average, at least for me, I know pretty much if I worked hard enough to earn something. If I don't think I worked hard enough to earn something, I'm going to work harder on it. It's pretty easy stuff, but most people don't follow it. So yeah, all of you can easily do 4-figure profit days within the next 10 to 20 weeks, I would say. It already applies. Yeah, it just takes some time. Apply the stuff you're learning in this course. I'm sure it's the best opportunity ever, and you have even a better learning experience than I had. And all you have to do is apply. You can pretty much see from the whole attitude if someone's going to make it. If someone is asking those kind of questions, you could have figured out by himself, just doing like half an hour of research on the forum and on Google. Then you already know this kind of guy is most likely not going to make it. And I actually got a lot of feedback on following for people saying, I knew like from the first couple of posts that you're going to make it, and I believe the same. And it's really this more of an underlying mindset and how you approach stuff, always being positive and structuring your whole life in a way you have positive people around you and you are able to do awesome stuff. You have encouragement, And there are so many awesome people. I also would encourage you highly to go to meetups like in London and to just meet people in your city. Meeting some affiliate guys in Sydney helped me a lot to make it feel more real and just beyond those kind of people who are making it happen. So if you're in London, hit me up. We could hang out sometime. If you're in Chiang Mai, hit me up. I'm going to be in Chiang Mai soon. Um, if you hit your first 4-figure profit day, hit me up so I can congratulate you. Besides that, yeah, good luck to all of you and cheers.